Hey everybody, welcome to my channel, thereallifescoop.com. My name's Erica Gilmore. I'm an attorney, a real estate agent, and a real estate investor here in Columbus, Ohio. And I will provide you with ideas, insights, and inspiration on all things real estate and real life. So today I'm going to talk about to LLC or not to LLC. So should you have an LLC for your real estate investment property? And the short answer is yes, you should. So I'll go into that in a little bit more detail here coming up, but I hope this video is beneficial to both real estate agents and real estate investors. I think as a real estate agent, anytime you can bring value to your clients, you're sort of showing a competitive advantage and why they should hire you over someone else. And I think maybe giving them a high level bit of understanding of this topic, if you had a client that was a real estate investor, could really prove to be helpful and set you apart. And then of course, if they do show some interest, you don't want to advise them, as their attorney or on the law, but you can say, if you're interested in this and you want more information, then you can contact a real estate attorney. So let's get started. I hope that I can provide you with some information that maybe you haven't heard before. I'm sure you've considered this topic before, whether you should have an LLC. But bottom line is, yes, you should have an LLC for your investment property. So why is that? The main reason is protection from personal liability. So if you start an LLC and you structure it properly based on your state's law, here we're in Ohio, so if you structure that properly and you abide by the structure that you have put into place, meaning you use a separate bank account for your investment property, the income that comes in from your tenants and expenses that go out from your personal bank account, keep everything separate, then you should be able to have protection from personal liability. So that would mean if somebody were to get hurt on your property and they wanted to sue you, they could not sue you personally. They would have to sue your company, and the only thing that's in your company is your LLC. So that's the asset that's being tied up during the lawsuit. Now you might say, well, I have homeowners insurance to cover all of that. And yes, that is true. But the homeowner's insurance will not necessarily stop someone from going ahead and pursuing for more money. And that would mean, who are they going to sue? They're going to sue the owner. Who's the owner? The company or you personally? So that is the biggest reason to have an LLC for your property. So the second question would be, do you have one LLC for each property you own, or do you put several properties into one LLC? And that's a great question, and I don't think there's one specific answer. It's based on your level of comfort with risk and cost and difficulty in monitoring all these different LLCs. So here in Ohio, we'll start with expense. There is an expense to file the articles of organization with the Secretary of State, and that expense is around $100 here in Ohio. So that is really your only expense for starting an LLC. You can go on to the Secretary of State's website, print out the form, fill it out, mail your $100 along with the form, and that's all you have to do. There are no annual filing requirements. There are no fees or any additional fees or anything you need to pay or monitor going forward. You just need to set that up one time. So that's your one-time expense. Now, if you were in another state where you had annual filing requirements, fees for every filing, that becomes more costly and more work for you to keep track of all these LLCs. So then you might want to say, it's worth it to me to put a few LLCs, more than one, a few properties more than one into one LLC, depending on how many properties you have. And the reason you want to keep them separate is, if at all possible, is because if someone falls and gets hurt on one of your properties, the only thing that person could come after or sue you for are the assets in that particular property. If you had 3 or 4 properties in that LLC, they would all be subject to that pending litigation. So your assets might be tied up. You may not be able to sell one if you wanted to sell. There's just more assets, more money, more liability on your part that a potential plaintiff could go after. So if you keep them all separate, that just limits your liability to that one particular property. And of course, yes, you do need to have insurance, property insurance, homeowners insurance on each piece of property. So I hope that was helpful. A couple of nuances in there, which I have been researching more into just for my own particular knowledge. What about a registered agent? Do you want to be the registered agent on your own LLC? And this is another not so straight answer kind of question. Kind of a typical lawyer answer is it depends. So it depends. When you're filing the articles of organization, you're required to list a registered agent on that form. It can be yourself, and the registered agent has to live in the state where your company is. So you can list yourself, and that means you would get all the mailings, all the tax mailings, any lawsuits that might be potentially filed, hopefully none against your LLC, but you're going to get all those mailings, and that's totally fine. But maybe you don't want your name on public record. So if you want to kind of shield yourself from layers and layers and layers of liability and keep yourself anonymous to potential tenants who are trying to track you down, or even someone who's trying to sue you, they cannot find you if you're not anywhere on a public filing. So that would be the benefit of having a separate registered agent. Now, I talked earlier about how you can do these filings yourself. You, like I said, $100, it's very simple, but you also could hire an attorney to do this for you. And if you do hire an attorney, you can also ask them to be your registered agent. So nowhere on that public filing, they're going to find your name. And I also looked into some of the big registered agency companies. So it looks to me like those companies charge a couple $100 per company to be a registered agent. I'm not really prepared to spend that kind of money. I am going to weigh the benefits versus the cost and the difficulty of getting all this done. I'm going to go ahead for now in the time being and be my own registered agent on these properties. So if somebody really wanted to find me, if someone knew how to look at a Secretary of State public filing, they could find me on there. They could maybe assume that I am somehow related to the company and track me down that way. But I'm going to choose, in this case, to be my own registered agent. I'll get all the filings. I can manage that myself. So I'm going to save the couple $100 per company. So that was one little nuance that I found helpful and that I'm hoping that you guys can find helpful too. The second one is that I ran into a problem that mortgage companies or lenders, conventional lenders, oftentimes are not going to give you a loan in the name of the LLC. If you're paying cash, not a problem. You sign the purchase contract as the buyer in the name of your LLC. Or if you have a hard money lender or some kind of unconventional type of lender, family member, probably no problem putting the name in the LLC. But a conventional mortgage lender is oftentimes not going to let you. So you have to go through the whole closing, all the paperwork, the whole process as yourself personally as the buyer, which then again goes back to your name will be in the chain of title. If somebody were to look that hard, they could find you. But then what you could go ahead and do is once the closing is complete, you could draft up a deed and you could transfer the property from an individual name. You could quit claim deed it, which is a simple form of deed, into the name of your new LLC, and that's what's going to now be on record. So then you will still have that protection from personal liability. So a couple of extra steps in that, but sometimes that's what you have to do if you're going after a conventional mortgage. Now, just be careful with that. you're going to have to probably let your mortgage company know ahead of time, because a lot of mortgages have a due on sale clause, meaning if you transfer ownership, that mortgage is going to be due immediately in its entirety. So that's a lot of money probably. And you want to let them know that, hey, I am intending to do this, and kind of get their input on that. Secondly, you want to contact your homeowner's insurance company as well as your title insurance company. Make sure you put the name of the LLC as an additional insured, so that that company now can claim protection if in the event that somebody sues and they need insurance. So I hope that you found that interesting. I know it's a lot of technical information, and again, if you're a real estate agent, I would just say, this is some great high-level information you could bring to the attention of your investor clients, and they might say, hey, wow, she knows a little bit more than the next guy when it comes to LLCs. And then if you're a real estate investor, hopefully this helped you and maybe protects you in the future. So thanks for watching, and I hope that you give me a thumbs up or a like or a comment below if there's something that else you want to hear about, and I will just see you next time. Best of luck. Thanks.